Hi Yogi, and welcome to another Yoga Quickie with me, Oceana. In this particular episode, we're really looking to release the spine as well as the adjacent connective tissue. And because the connective tissue is a little bit slower to respond to stimulus compared to our very fast firing muscle tissue, we'll be holding these postures for longer periods of time and working in a yin style practice. So, in order to make the body comfortable and really settle into these postures for sort of around 3 to 5 minutes each, we'll be using a few additional props today. So, personally, I've got myself a bolster as well as 2 bricks. And if you don't have either of those, then I will link a video here for you that's going to show you how to very easily substitute them with household items. Just my final little word of warning with regards to yin yoga is really that oftentimes we have a tendency to arrive in these postures and immediately want to go into the deepest version of the stretch. What I would really encourage you to do is to try to just come into the beginning stages of that stretch, feel the tension, allow it to slowly subside, and then move a little bit deeper into the pose so that you're working really progressively and slowly rather than sort of jumping right in at the deep end, which is sort of a way to often cause injury. And when you're ready, we're going to start with a restorative backbend. So all you need to begin with is just one of your bricks close at hand. We'll have the feet hip distance with the knees pointing up towards the ceiling and slowly roll all the way onto our backside. Once you arrive, give yourself a moment to really settle into the idea of practicing and staying focused for the duration of this class. Let your palms turn towards the ceiling and allow your spine to adjust to this different relationship to gravity. Bring your attention to the connection of the back of the body to the floor. Notice particularly the areas where the body is in contact with the earth. So that might be the back of the hips, the mid or thoracic upper spine, the back of the head, as well as the feet, the backs of the hands and arms, maybe even the shoulder blades. And then for a moment, pay equal attention to the gaps between you and the floor. So the space behind the knees and calves. Maybe there's a little bit of an air gap behind the lower back and the neck. Once you've got a fairly good idea of what the landscape of the back of the body looks like, press into your feet to lift the hips and slide your brick underneath you on the lowest setting and place it at the very, very base of the spine. So the very lowest part of the spine has this triangular bone that is known as the sacrum. It sort of points downwards. And that should feel really sturdy and steady here so that you really feel supported in that back bend and truly make it a restorative posture. And of course, for some of you, there is the option to actually turn the brick one setting higher onto the medium height. But again, really making sure that there's no areas of tension here. You're not working too deeply too soon. Once you arrive, really allow yourself to settle into stillness. Let your attention drift towards the breath. For a moment, really focus on the breath, reaching all the way down into the belly, allowing the belly to expand towards the ceiling as you inhale. Allowing the belly to really soften towards the ground beneath you as you exhale. Gradually shifting your attention towards the ribs, that lateral breath. As you inhale, the torso widens as the ribs expand. And as you exhale, the ribs move towards one another, softening in. Gently allowing your attention to drift towards the chest. Noticing the center of the chest lifting towards the chin as you inhale. And softening away as you exhale. And finally, noticing the back of the rib cage. Is there any possibility that the thoracic upper back is expanding as you inhale towards the floor and drawing a little bit higher as you exhale? Finally, allow your attention to rest on all of those points, breathing into them equally as you inhale, and allowing them to soften towards one another as you exhale. Feeling that deep sense of lift and expansion as you breathe in. That softening pull of gravity as you exhale. Whenever you feel the mind wandering towards other things that are grabbing at your attention, maybe things that have happened earlier in your day or things that have yet to happen, bring your mind back to the breath and allow the breath to really anchor you in the present moment. Press into your feet slowly as you inhale. Pull the hips away from the brick underneath you. Slide the brick to one side and allow the hips to slowly, vertebra by vertebra, come all the way back onto the ground. Take another reading of the back of the body, noticing any differences in how the back body is connected to the floor beneath you now. Slowly from here, walk the feet forward, straighten the legs. Reach the arms up and over your head. And grab hold of opposite elbows here. Walk the feet across towards the left side of the mat. Maybe you're even going past the yoga mat. And for some of you, this will already be a deep enough stretch as we come into Bananasana, banana pose. If you're taking it a little bit further, walk your shoulder blades across towards the left side as well. And ideally, you want the right hip to stay grounded. But possibly, if you would like to go a little bit deeper, hook the right ankle across the left toes. And find the breath equally expanding both ribs as you inhale. Despite the fact that your left rib cage is compressed, you're still keeping the breath even and equal across both sides. Slowly bring your shoulders back into the midline. Walk the feet all the way across to the right side. And find as similar of a pose on the second side here as you can. So maybe you just walk the feet across. Maybe you shimmied the shoulders across as well. Possibly you're hooking the left ankle across the right toes. And as soon as you arrive, let the body be heavy. Feel almost a blanket of gravity pulling you closer towards the earth. Slowly let the shoulders drift back into center. Unhook the feet and plant them flat to the floor with the knees bent. Allow yourself to roll over towards the left side of the mat, pressing into the right hand to come up to a seated position. And here we'll set up our next pose. So we'll come into deer pose with a little bit of a twist. So option 1 for this will be that you will simply use your bolster as a support in front of you, and you'll be able to have it on the highest setting here, resting the forehead against the bolster. And as you deepen the pose, you can slide the bolster away from you to sort of decrease this angle. If you know that you want to be folding towards the ground, then we'll want to set up our bricks as well. So you'll have one brick on the low setting and one on the medium setting. You'll allow the bolster to rest on top of those bricks, and you'll want the right hip pressing against the bolster. The right knee is pointing forward, and you create a 90-degree angle with your right leg. Same thing for the left leg, but you're pointing the left knee directly in the opposite direction to the bolster. So you've got this sort of vaguely straight line. And from there, gradually turning your belly button to face towards the bolster on the floor. Maybe framing it with both hands. And here's a good point to notice whether you want to bring that bolster upright a little bit closer towards you, or for some of you, walking the fingertips forward, beginning to soften the elbows, and possibly even resting one side of the head on top of the props. And I'll leave it up to you which side of the head, or rather which way you turn the head, as some people prefer a deeper sensation in the neck and some people like to stay on the softer side of life. You can turn the palms up towards the ceiling and really notice how different the sensations of the breath are here when we turn to lie on the front of the body. How possibly you might have a stronger connection to the breath in the back of the body here. That might seem counterintuitive, but you might have more of a sense of feeling the back of the ribs moving. Gradually, when you're ready, on an inhale, plant the fingertips to the floor. Press into the hands to lift yourself away from the props if you came down. Remove the bolster underneath your head if you had the bolster a little bit more upright. And for most of you, it'll be easier simply to swivel around so that your left hip is against the bolster. I'm going to keep facing you, so I'm going to move my whole setup to the other side. And essentially you want to end up with the left hip again pressing into the bolster, finding that same 90-degree angle on both legs with the right knee pointing away this time. We're going to swivel and turn the belly button to face towards the props and find again the same version or as similar of a version of this twist as we can on the second side here. And you might notice that this feels wildly different to the first side. It's really helpful in our yin practice to notice those imbalances in the body, to really pay attention to where those differences in those sensations are. And you might be able to pinpoint exact areas of the spine that feel maybe less of a sensation or more of a sensation here. So really allowing your mind to explore the body's intricacies. Building a little bit more awareness of what's happening on a more subtle level. When you're ready, on an inhale, bring the hands to the floor, come into an upright position and find a seated pose so that you can remove your bolster to one side here and remove your bricks. From there, again, feet come back to the floor, knees are bent. We'll slide back onto our backside here. And we'll come into eye of the needle. So we'll slowly bring the left ankle just below the right knee. So you end up with a sort of figure 4 shape of the legs if you're looking down, and you can flex your left toes towards the shin bone so that you're protecting this top knee here. For a moment, plant the palms of your hands on top of the thighs and really press the thighs away, lengthen the spine. And then release the grip of the hands. For some of you might already be feeling fairly strong sensations here, so you could keep the legs as they are and work into the stretch here. Maybe you're gradually deepening. So let's start by bringing the right knee in towards the chest. And really here we're just seeing how close we can get that knee without pulling it. So what is our natural range of motion? And if you do want to go a little bit further, and it's within easy reach here, then your left hand could slide between the legs, the right hand could wrap around the outside, and you might be able to interlace the hands behind the thigh, or possibly all the way in front of your shin bone. Ideally, you still want the shoulders and the back of the head fully connected to the floor. So if you've chosen to go for the shin, you might notice that the shoulders and head have lifted. Take a step back. Move back to the thigh or let go of the legs entirely. So really keep yourself accountable and work within what your body is willing to give you right now, today, which can be drastically different from what it normally is. Maybe you're normally very bendy and right now everything feels really tight. Make sure that you accommodate for whatever is going on right now. Then very slowly, gently release the grip of the hands. Keep the legs exactly as they are, but plant the right foot to the floor. Take the arms either in one straight line from the shoulders or bend the elbows for cactus arms. Let your top foot travel all the way across to the opposite side of the mat. So you're coming into twisted root. And there's an option here to bring the right hand on top of that top knee and guide it towards the floor on the right side. Again, if that starts to peel your left shoulder off the floor, take a step back. Let the left shoulder be heavy and grounded. And final option here to turn the head towards your left elbow, maybe closing the eyes at this point in practice. Really allowing the mind to rest on your own internal experience. And if you notice the mind being really busy, full of thoughts, could you bring the attention back towards your breathing? Maybe with a little bit of childlike curiosity, really observing those minute differences between each inhale and each exhale. comparing those sensations to the breath before and the breath that follows. Gradually lifting the knees up, making your way back to center so that we can unhook the legs and swap sides. So we'll this time have the left foot on the floor, bringing the right ankle just below the knee. The hands can be flat for a moment, palms facing towards the thighs, and using the hands to really press the thighs away and lengthen the spine upwards, creating space between the vertebrae. Gradually releasing the grip of the hands. And again, we'll start really slowly here, possibly staying exactly where we are. Maybe over time, bringing the left knee towards us. And again, just as a reminder, the right toes are flexing towards the shin bone so that we're protecting the top knee. And if the left knee is fairly close towards the chest, maybe you're bringing the hands through to grab hold of the back of the thigh or the front of the shin. And if this side again feels really different to the previous side, then make sure that you accommodate for that. And as soon as you arrive, let the back of the body be heavy. Maybe over time, as your left knee moves closer, the right knee moves further away to deepen the pose. Slowly, gently release the grip of the hands to plant the left foot to the floor. Bring the arms either out to the sides of the shoulders or bend the elbows for cactus arms. Slowly let that top foot travel across to the left side. Optional again to bring the left hand and guide the top knee towards the ground. Maybe keeping the right shoulder as grounded as possible. You might even turn the head to look towards the right elbow, or possibly closing the eyes. Finding stillness, possibly allowing your mind to travel back to the movement of the breath. Following that movement with your mind's eye, visualizing the breath traveling through the body. On an inhale, lift the knees, unravel the legs, straighten your legs so that your heels are as wide as the mat. Push any props out of your way so that you are not in contact with anything. Let the arms separate away from the torso, let the palms face towards the ceiling, and give yourself just a moment of rest for the postures, the movements to really seep into the cells, the tissues, the bones of the body. And finally here, bend the knees, plant the feet to the floor. Take one final reading of the back of the body, noticing again the points of contact, the gaps. Possibly comparing that to the beginning of practice, noticing any sameness or difference. Gradually reaching your right arm up and over your head, rolling over towards the right hand side and using the left arm there to support yourself, to Come all the way up into a seated position. Any comfortable seat here. We'll bring the hands to touch in front of the chest and bow the forehead towards the fingertips. Using this final moment of practice to plant a sankalpa, a good intention for the rest of our day or week ahead of us. The light in me recognizes the light in you, Namaste Yogi. And as always, thank you so much for joining me in today's practice. I hope you enjoyed the slower pace of life. And of course, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, let me know down below in the comment section. And if you want to find me anywhere else online in the meantime, all of that information, all of my social media links are in the video description below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, please. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you have, do you have yogi friends who you could bring into our beautiful community? I would be so grateful if you could share the word and news, spread the good word. And hopefully I will see you back on the yoga mat very soon.